Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have an audience that knows you, Mr. Brenner. But if you don't know Solomon Brenner, he's got schools up in the Philadelphia area. I always get this wrong. It's either 22 or 23 schools.
22, but we're working on 23, of course.
I put in 23 today because I just want to use that number.
Yeah, and
but
yeah,
I never know with you. You know, I could call you and you could say I have 25. You work fast. But I think the unique thing about Solomon compared to other people that have a lot of schools is they invest in the real estate, not just renting a place, which is really increasing his net worth. And another thing that's very unique is he likes sharing in the profits of his school. So he's really helping his team get wealthy. So you can be a martial arts partner with Solomon or run one of his schools and have a good career at the same time. So he's thinking about not only helping kids with martial arts, adult with martial arts, but he's really concerned about the people that works on his team and that they're taken well care of. So he's a really, really good guy to model.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Mr. John, who's on here, he's one of our business partners. And then Sensei Michael is on here somewhere also, and he's one of our partners, and he actually owns some of the property with me. Yeah, so we're all about like everybody just kind of working together and, you know, building a real life, right? Like none of our, you know, all of our schools, our 22 schools, they're all run by professional people with full-time salaries, with, you know, owning their own home and health insurance, retirement plans. And, you know, we're really like we talked about this before, like we really take seriously our goal is to just help everybody else achieve their goals, and we'll earn what we, you know, we'll benefit from that without a doubt. But if we really just understand what they want and try and help them get there, you know, we'll just be part of that. You know, whatever they're achieving, we'll be part of that, and that's fine with us.
You know, you got me interested last week because you and I just talking, and you said that you had one student, and the student joined martial arts, but she was really into equestrian, and one of the reasons she was chose martial arts because equestrian wasn't being offered because of COVID and everything. And you're just saying about you're concerned that a lot of people join martial arts as an alternative. It wasn't their first choice. And now that COVID is loosening up and people are getting their shots and people are going to travel, you're concerned that some schools may have lost what they gained.
Oh, so well, the predictions for the future. I think in the next 3 to 6 months, right now, all of our schools are like numbers like we've never seen. You know, I know a lot of schools, you know, enroll 20 people a month. We never do. Our school's goal is 12 a month for each of our schools. You know, sometimes, of course, we have outliers that might do 20, but it's rare. Right now, our schools are just, you know, 20, you know, I think Mr. John has 50 net new in the last 2 months, and that's net new. It's more than that. He's raising it something like this, whatever. I mean, like like everybody's enrolling 20 or more right now. And I think that's because we've done such a great job, and we're pretty much the only game in town. There's, you know, a lot of things still shut down. You know, a lot of the karate schools just aren't doing a great job. Gymnastics, dance, sports, they're just not there yet, but they'll be there. They'll be there. What's up? Hello? I think he's talking something. I don't know. Anyway, I think they'll get there without a doubt. Are we still going good, Mr. Silva? No, there's other people coming on. Who knows? I think they'll get there, but I think what's going to happen over the next 3 to 6 months is, number one, the deal flow is going to leave us pretty quickly. And, you know, so the ability to enroll all these massive amount of students is going to go away. Plus, retention is going to get destroyed. We're going to go, you know, people are going to leave, right? Because we're a placeholder for a lot of these people. You know, I think we're a placeholder is where we're starting. And I think we can do some things to fix that. So, you know, when dance opens back up or horseback riding opens back up or whatever sport they're into, it's going to be like, oh, thanks. We had a great time. We love you guys. Bye. And that's going to be the end of it. And we're going to be back to, you know, doing tables and struggling and, you know, always, you know, working really hard to get each one of our students. So do you want to talk about some of the things we're doing to build retention?
Yeah, of course. I mean, now you got everyone scared. So
I don't mean to scare everybody, but I think
I know it's just a reality check. It's a reality check.
Yeah, like well, here's what I think is happening now. The sexy numbers, the dopamine drip is every time you enroll somebody, it's exciting, it's fun, right? Like you get to tell your friends and you tell your spouse and you tell, like, oh, we enrolled this many people. I can't believe it. Our school's packed. And right now we're also seeing people are like, oh, our school's completely filled. We're on a waiting list. Yeah, I know, because like we're on 50% capacity. So you're on a waiting list. Great. Right. Like, so there's all of that is a dopamine drip. And I think we're all getting like high and worse yet, addicted to the dopamine that's happening. And I think it's going to be like super scary in the next 3 to 6 months when all those people have the possibility of leaving. And I don't care if you have a 12-month contract, they're still going to argue with you. They're still going to want to leave. Or if you don't, then, it's more trouble. So like with our people, we've been really working hard on, there's two things we talk about in every class. There has to be connection, like real connection with the student, and progress. And I kind of model that after something that you taught me a long time ago, Mr. Silva. You said, if you were teaching somebody a private lesson, they'd probably last 20 years. And we all have those students that have been around forever because they're taking private lessons. So the question is, how do we have a private lesson experience in a group class, right? And that's really what it has to be. Because with a private student, why do they stay forever? Because you're all in their business. Like, you talk to their parents about the cars they drive and the other kids, and you joke afterwards. You find out exactly what they're working on. You know that they practiced or they didn't practice. You're thinking about their class before it happens, how you're going to help them. It's like this very intimate, connected experience that doesn't happen, because a lot of times when we teach group class, we're teaching a class, not a person. When we've really just got to teach a bunch of individual people, right? So connection and progress. And if you think about that during every class, your students are just going to stay longer. And I think if we are a placeholder right now, then if we need to switch that from a placeholder to what we really want it to be, which is lifestyle for them, but we have to like purposefully do it. So, some of the stuff that we're doing is on Sunday, we drop a link on every Sunday night that tells them that they're allowed to start registering for classes. So there's no more just like show up to whatever class you feel like it. They register for a class. On Monday morning, we go through every one of our attendance cards and figure out who's registered and who's not. And by the way, I apologize. So we drop the link, but we put it on Facebook. We text it to everyone. We email it to everyone. So everybody gets the link. We go through like great lengths. We do it like a couple times on Sunday. Like, oh, make sure you register. You didn't register yet. Da, da, da. On Monday morning, we go through every single attendance card and ask, and then anybody who's not registered, we go back and we send them another text. I noticed you're not registered. Make sure you get registered. And I'm not sure how we register exactly. Some of our schools do it differently, like Calendly and Schedulely or whatever they're all called. I'm sure Mr. John could put in the chat box whatever software we're using at the moment. And then anybody who's registered for the class doesn't, Calendly, there you go. Anyone who registers for the class and doesn't show up, that night they get a phone call. So A box for us used to be the absentee box, and we would do that like Thursday morning. Now they're getting a call as soon as they miss class. Like the second it happens, like sometimes at the end of the class or during 15 minutes into the class, if we have somebody that's not teaching, go call these 3 people. They're not here, right? Like we're following up with them the entire time. We also, this is all the school. If you get off this call and there's one thing that you do, this should be the first thing you do. Go through your entire attendance cards, and we still use paper attendance cards. And we go through, we did this last week or 2 weeks ago. Every instructor had to go through every single attendance card and look at each one and say if they really had a true connection with that family. And if they did, awesome. And when we say connection, like you really know like what the kid is there for, is the kid allergic to something, and not for like medical reasons. You just really know this family. You know what the mom and dad do for a living, what kind of car they drive, the other brothers and sisters, what activities they're doing. Like you really have a connection. Like you've walked over to the parents and said, like, Johnny's front kicks are really sharp. I need him to work on the push-ups, and here's a way to do it. Like there was a connection made, right? And if there's not, that's okay. You need to start that connection right now. And we don't wait till classes start for the connection. We text them right then and there, because I feel like my goal is to have a connection with little Valerie during class and with you, with dad, but then like class starts and then I forget, and all these things are happening. So it's too hard to remember. So I'll text you right now, like, hey, Mr. Silva, I just wanted to tell you that Valerie's doing a really sharp job. I was curious, when's her next class again? So I want to make sure I work on with her sidekicks. Now, the issue becomes, I don't know who Valerie is, and I don't know what to say, there's nothing personal, then I really have to ask myself, there's obviously zero connection, right? And that happens sometimes too. And that just, brings to light, like, all right, I better really work with this family, because when they quit and I didn't know who they were, and you guys know, Mr. Silva, you certainly know Miss Jackie, when we were teaching full time, sometimes she would say, oh, Billy's mom called to quit. And if my response was, who's Billy? She would just obviously be like, well, obviously they're quitting. We don't even know who they are. And it sounds silly, and I'm sure most schools think that's not not at our school. We know everybody, maybe. But it's always that kid who's like, pretty good, not great, but he's always there. That kind of slips through the cracks. So anyway, so we do our connection audit. And then we're starting now trying to make a lot of our messaging, lessons of the week, the Black Belt Excellence type curriculum about quitting and sticking to your goals and not giving up and having that, developing grit, and, telling you, once the kid wants to quit, it's already too late for all of us. We have to make sure that they're getting this message and they're getting the idea before they want to quit. So when they want to quit, it's the second time they're hearing it. They're like, oh yeah, he's telling the truth. He's not just trying to get my tuition dollars, right? Because when you're having that conversation in the back of every parent's mind, they're like, yeah, you're just trying to, you're saying things good for my kid, but that's just the story so that you can keep our tuition. If it's all beforehand, they got a letter talking about quitting. It was the lesson of the week. They saw an email. They got it. You did a personal message on Facebook. Like, all this stuff happened. Then it happens. Then, like, you're telling the truth because it already happened. I don't know if you started reading Upstream yet, but a lot of it is you're trying to upstream it as fast as you possibly can. And then we still have plenty of people on virtual. We're doing outside classes, inside classes, virtual, and on demand, all separate. And that's another thing. Like, the experience has got to be awesome. So for a little while, 9 or 10 months ago, we would do like an in-person class with a video at the same time. So that way, it was like Zoom at the same time. But what we discovered is nobody was getting a good experience, right? So the Zoom people, you're either talking to the people in front of you or you're talking to the camera. And then you're screaming at the camera and the people are in front of you aren't really getting a good experience. So we separated all that out. We made sure that, like, at the end of the day, we have a product, right? Like, our product or our service, it's kind of like a car, right? Like, if you said, oh, the windows are really great, but the brakes not so great, right? I mean, that's pretty much what we were doing. Like, part of class was good, but not all of it. So now, like, we think through like every part of class, Zoom class, what's going to be the best experience for like a small space for the kid, and they're not as focused as well, and there's no pads for them to hit. Like, what's that class going to look like compared to like somebody who's coming to the school or being outside where now the ground's wet really hard, we can't maybe do falls or something. So we try and think through like each part of class. But I think circling back to the very beginning, if we assume that people are going to leave our school soon because things are going to open back up, they're going to start traveling, all these things are going to happen, what do we do to make them true believers and that, like, we're really part of their family, and leaving is not an option? And they're the things that we're doing. So they're all my stuff. Any questions?
What about like social events? Are those important now? Because the whole idea is like we try to make our school like the third place. They got work, they got home, and the third place is they want to come to our school because they have a good experience, they feel good about themselves, they feel comfortable.
So we actually, a very wise man also was chatting with me a while back, and he said, oh, I can't believe we have to make, we have to somehow make, to make it fun, we have to do dodgeball and Nerf guns. He said, why can't karate just be fun? And then he talked about this other idea about BMX track stuff. So a few weeks ago, if you're listening, obviously it was Mr. Silva. So I mean, this is exactly what we did. So Mr. John, who's on here, and if you want him to chat about what because he did it last week, we had Warrior Night on Friday night, and we invited 15 kids. They had to be orange belts or above, because there's no teaching. It was just like my vision of what you described as BMX Friday night event. And they had like dollar store prizes. They charged like $10 to be there. And it was stuff like most front kicks in 30 seconds. Best person in self-defense, like you've almost like a sparring match where like you do your self-defense, I do it, and then somebody calls a winner. And like, he would talk about like what the winner should look like. Like, I want to see, the most snap, the most eye contact, the most looks like somebody's in front of you. And like, it would be like division after division after, and afterward, the parents were like, that was the best thing ever. Never have I seen my kid work so hard. It was just like contest after who could, who could hit the bag the hardest. And like, they would have parents hold it. Like all the stuff you talked about BMX, like parents are involved, silly little fruit snack prizes. But they loved it. So instead of doing Nerf night, which we've done, we do water balloon fights outside. Like it was like, okay, what if we just did karate and just tried our best to make it, like competitive and fun. And we've talked about that even in the past where, most sports, and we're not a sport, we're a lifestyle, but for most sports, you have your practice during the week, then on the weekend you have a game, and that's why you practice. With karate, that doesn't really exist. It's just like, let's just keep practicing. Let's just keep practicing. For what? I don't know. In case you get attacked someday or a bully bothers you, that's probably never going to happen. So Mr. John did it, and I think Miss Shelley, I think, did one also. So far, they're the two schools that are experimenting with it, and the results, Mr. Silva, have been just awesome. It's really, really cool. And it's not, if people are thinking like, oh, it's really hard to do, like, yeah, we talk about our meetings, but anybody, just think of like anything you do is now a contest, and there's no dodgeball. So Mr. John, what other contests were there, if you're still here?
So we had like weapons katas, and they did like an actual tournament where it was like half the class was in one division, half the class was in the other. There was a parent, like I would call out who got a points for like winning, only one person would. At the end, it was like only the top 3 people got dollar store prizes for like first, second, and third. We talked about like healthy competition. And if you can either get bitter, like, oh, that was too hard, the instructor doesn't like me, or you can get better, like, oh, I need to practice more between now and the next time we compete. Maybe I should come to class more. Maybe I should practice at home. What can I do to get better? I like talk to the parents about that. Some of the other competition stuff, like the self-defense, they did fitness as well. So like the parents were coaching them. They were doing push-ups with like a target underneath them. And I told the parents they could do 30 push-ups. You only count the ones that are good. So maybe they're doing 30 and like 5 are great. Parents only count the ones that you would be proud of. They did sit-ups, squats, kicking, exercising, and then we did like mini tournaments as well.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry.
So we're taking all your advice.
I like that bitter or better. I would even talk about that when I would promote the event. If parents were going to teach them a cool lesson between where they have a choice of either being bitter or better. I think that I've never heard that. I don't know where I've been all my life, but I would definitely use that. I think that's great. Did you do any like shuttle runs or like team competitions?
No, sir, just because of with COVID, I was like a little nervous about that, but that's like an awesome idea as well. I would say the best part for me for the event is at the end, a kid came up to me and said, like, I didn't win. I had a lot of fun, and I'm going to go home and practice and like try to get better for next time.
Cool.
Our goal is to start doing it either every other week or once a month or every other week. And that becomes like what we're training for all week or all month long. Like, all right, guys, and what did we call it? Like Warrior Night. So we called it, we say like, all right, we're all action. Our school is Action Karate, the people that don't know. So, Action Warrior Night, we got to get ready for it. Let's see our push-ups, got to get ready. And that's what they're doing. And I think the other thing that Mr. John did, which was great, was he didn't allow the white belts or the yellow belts to come. So they have to like work up to get to Warrior Night, right? You have to like earn to be there. Plus he didn't want to have to teach anything. He didn't want to have to explain what a front kick was. He wanted to just say like the most you can do in 30 seconds, go. Because I think if you're teaching it, then it's like going to take too long. And this was only an hour.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's also smart.
Yeah, you don't want to teach. Again, you want to, I say, play karate, and you just want to perform karate. You don't want to teach. That's really good. But you can do it, just like you said, when you're doing your self-defense, have good poise. So you're still getting some teaching in there, or coaching. You're getting coaching in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And when I explained it to Mr. John, and plus I reposted when you wrote about the BMX stuff, I reposted that to our head instructor page and was like, hey, this is a great idea. We should all be doing this. And Mr. John was like, all right, I'll try it. Let's see how it goes. And he did a great job. And I'm sure over the next 6 months, it will transform into something even way better based on Mr. John. Like after he does it that night, I talked to him like how to go, what went well, we always do a debrief, and then one of the benefits of our organization is there's 40 or 50 other people that are also having that exact same conversation with him. And I'm sure he went out to dinner with 3 other head instructors in the last 2 weeks, and it was the same thing. So what happened, how'd it go, blah blah blah. I think Miss Shelley charged $21 to come. She had 15 people, and again, we have limited capacity, and I think she charged $21 a person. And they gave out like, silly prizes as before. And we also, for anybody who's like trying new stuff that's watching this, they say the worst thing that could happen for a brand new restaurant is it's packed the first week, because there's always going to be problems with serving and food and all this other stuff. So, you want to do is like a soft opening, right? Like you only want like 15 people in that room to make sure you got it down. And then then you build out. But if you get like, imagine if you had 100 people and like, the things we never thought of, you mess it all up, you're gonna have a bad, it's gonna be like, oh, Action Warrior Night's terrible. You're gonna have like a bad reputation. So if you mess it up with a couple people, then, that's fine. And then you'll get it better for next time. But luckily he didn't mess it up.
Real good point. I love it. Can you tell me a little bit about your accelerator program?
Yeah, so I think it's so when COVID hit, we went from, I think, the more traditional model where, with our schools, we would have a meeting once a week and we would train once a week together. And that's what we always did. But then COVID hit, we couldn't do that. And we were petrified. When they said we were shutting down for 2 weeks, I literally thought we could not survive 2 weeks. I was like, this is like, there's no way the government can force us to do this, and we'll probably be out of business. And I was like figuring out like what my next career move was going to be. And partly kidding, partly not. And we wound up having meetings 4 days a week that saved us. Like we barely, like our schools all took a hit without a doubt, but only 3 or 4 of them out of 22 even qualified for the next round of PPP because they didn't really fall that much. And now all of our schools are at all-time highs. And I'm not saying this to brag to anybody, because I think you could just do the same thing we're doing it, or to impress anybody. It's just to press upon everybody that you can follow, a similar model. We have meetings every single day, and Mondays is leadership and like things to do for the week that are going to move the needle. Tuesday is sales and marketing, and which is so. I mean, our enrollment directors are better than they've ever been. And then Wednesday is all about retention. And you could think of like an MBA program in retention, because every week it's a case study, and we break up into small little rooms and everybody discusses it. I mean, it's really like, I took class at Columbia like 2 years ago. I audited a class for their MBA program, and it's exactly what it was. It was like case study after case study, and you broke up into small groups and like discussed how you might do things differently compared to the CEO of like AT&T or Pico or something, like an electric company. And it's exactly what we do. So our schools are again, not trying to like brag, our schools are at all-time highs. We opened schools, we bought buildings all through COVID. And I think it's all because we have an entrepreneurial spirit within our group, and everybody just works really hard, and nobody was like, oh, I can't do it. But that meeting every day at 9 a.m. to like 9:45, I think just got everybody on the right track, and the level of education is just a whole different thing. And, people have asked me before about consulting, and I always thought like, people like you, Mr. Silva, like did a great job. Like I wouldn't say anything different than you were already saying. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you were saying was perfect, right? So there's nothing for me to say. I think the difference now is we're very slowly allowing people to come watch our meetings, become part of our meetings, so they can see what it's all about and to see if it's a good cultural fit. We've let in so far, and for some people, they self-eliminate, right? Like they say like, hey, I don't want to wake up at 9 a.m. or I don't want to do this, which is great. And then there's also been people that like want to do it, but like, we don't think they're a good fit. So we said no. So we've only let in a few people so far. But I think it's going great. I think like people that are on that mission to fight mediocrity, and they want to have a professional business. And we want people that want to have really like amazing lifestyles, right? Like work that, teach the classes they want to teach, make the money they want to make, and go on vacation when they want to go on vacation. They're not like strapped to their school and they're trapped. And they also provide opportunity for their other people. I always feel like so bad when I'm talking to someone who's a head instructor of a school and they make like no money, and they're working for the head instructor who's making great money or something, or they're a head instructor and they also don't make it, they own it, and they also don't do anything, and they're trapped. They don't own what I think it's like, you don't want to own a job, you want to own a business, and meaning that you should be able to leave the business and it still does well without you being there. And I think our new concept where we're letting people try it has been working fantastically. It's really, really, really awesome.
I know that you have you don't let anyone in, and you have them fill an application so you can screen. If people wanted an application, how would they get one?
Would it be possible for them to private message me and I could just send it out to them through Facebook?
Okay, so they have to become friends with you first.
If they can't become friends with me, and I only say that because I think I'm at my 5,000 friend limit, And in order to get rid of what?
Paul Garcia and I talked about this. I'm trying to friend him, but he's over his limit.
I know, but the problem is you can't bulk get rid of people. So like I have to go through like all of my friends like one by one and try to remember, like, do I know that person from Cry? Do I want to keep them on here? I don't know. Then I feel bad I'm going to insult somebody that I shouldn't be insulting by unfriending them. So like I feel like I do it as a bulk, it would feel not as bad.
Right.
But I feel like one by one, like I really don't know what to do. So if they're not friends with me, can they be friends with you? And or what if I just give you the link and then you can just post it?
Okay. Yeah, that I'll post it on because I'm gonna put the video up, so I'll post the link under the video.
Do you already have the link or do you need to send it to you?
I probably have it somewhere, but it'd be easier if you just send it to me again, or have Michael send it to me again.
I will send it to you. What else? Is there anything else I can answer that we're doing?
You know, I would ask, like, going back to the Warrior Night, which is a super cool idea. Any thoughts about instead of having it like on a Friday night, like possibly like on a Saturday or a Saturday morning, or is that, I'm just trying to think of where that might still work, where we have some more open time.
I think your school should serve you, not you serve your school, and not in a, you're still serving your students. But I think like if Friday night is your family night and you're like, I just don't want to be there on Friday night because that's my night that I like. For me, Friday night I spend with my parents and my wife and my daughter, and we go and have pizza and stuff. I don't want to give that up for any reason. I don't care what it is. So I don't think it matters. But the point is, I don't think it matters what day it is. I mean, you could do it, you know, Sunday afternoon, whatever works for you. I don't think it makes any difference. All of this is you hyping it up and you making it seem exciting and cool, and people are going to show up to it. And you know, that's the other thing that Mr. John and I talked about in the beginning was we'll know if this really works in a few months when it's immediately sold out, when we drop the link and you know, people are immediately signed up. Or, I mean, that's what's happening now with our school, right? Like just for classes, as soon as we drop that link, we get like email after email, like, I tried to sign up, there's no class times. I tried to sign up, there's no class times. If that's happening, I think, you know, you're doing a pretty great job. You know, for the Warrior Night thing, if it turns into you begging people to show up to it, it's probably not that much fun.
Good point. When I put the thing about the BMX night, if people paying $25 for BMX class, they were probably getting 10 to 20 people per class. When they have that race night, I mean, hundreds of people show up for race night, but it's only $10. I don't know how much the money means, but I think it's a huge retention aid.
I wonder if people that don't even train it or don't even take BMX class anymore, just want to do the tournament part of it. I wonder if they just show up to play, you know, to play BMX. And I wonder if we wouldn't get the same thing. Like, yeah, you don't have to be a student to come to it. You could just come and work out with us, but that might reignite their fire when they're there.
Yeah. Maybe get some people from other schools coming over and playing with you.
That would be awesome too.
Yes. All right, I'm gonna turn off the video right now.